They might have actually got value out of playing it just to make PGG ban it, which they didn't do last time these two teams played, if I recall correctly. It was actually UOL that banned it in Phase 2 of all things. So already that little shift may actually play into the draft here. And again, these teams, unlike the other ones, play each other so many times in this group. So there's definitely a lot of learnings and adaptation as the day wears on. But Nidalee is the first pick there for Ananasik. So very powerful jungler potentially there in for the UOL side, as Nautilus is going to get locked in, and maybe Kai'Sa is going to join him, because that's usually what is picked together.
Yeah, typically we've been seeing a lot of either Kai'Sa in this rotation or Varus if it is left open. Varus not really having the best win rate right now.
Okay.
With the Renekton.
All right, well, Renekton is going to get picked up there, as we may have lost Lyric. Everybody stand by. But it is Renekton, as you mentioned last game, Lyric. Was flexible, of course. Chaz could take it. Firepanther could take it as well. As Ananasik is now lining up pick number 2 here for Unicorns of Love. Very curious to see how these teams want to approach drafting against each other. Seen a ton of Alpha, as I believe we are all good. Welcome back, Lyric.
Thank you very much, Pastry. Like you're saying, already seeing that Alistar come out, so trying to give them some CC to play off with those Nidalee spears. This would be a bit of an interesting one, but still, typically it is jungle and then AD plus support in your first rotation. You want to keep it safe, try to get a solid matchup later on. I guess PGG have already showed the Renekton, but again, that is a potential flex pick, can go into either lane, and we still have 2 priority AD carries left open, but with that, you all say, hey, we're just going to go back towards this Urgot.
Yeah, I was really here for Darius, but I like the Urgot here as well here for Boss, who is a player that has been showing up a bit more here for Unicorns of Love. I think in this matchup especially, they can look to play through top lane here. Biopanther probably going to be on something more safe, as Chaz is like taunting them with a Victor, but I don't think Chaz wants Victor in this kind of matchup. Did very well yesterday as Lee Sin into No Man's Victor, so perhaps we'll see something similar here, but it is going to be Kai'Sa kind of as expected, which is good for Praedyth. Certainly a player that is looking to have a big game here for PGG. That is one of the areas that they'll be looking to attack, as Xayah is going to get banned away. So it does feel like actually Pentanet are just going to go for the bot lane here. They've taken Kai'Sa here alongside Nautilus, they already first picked, and maybe double targeting Lodik and Santis here in Phase 2.
And I like this a lot. When we saw PGG in the LCO playoffs, they were having a lot of success of playing around Praedyth, set him up as a hyper carry and just all-in on his lane. So we see the Xayah ban. I'd still like to see the Varus taken away. Again, I'm not sure if teams are just falling out of favor with it in scrims, but it feels like a very safe champion, can farm from a distance with that Q. And for the side of UOL, I'm really interested to see where they go with their AD carry pick. You still have some other safe options that we've seen played, right? They haven't played the Tristana. They've been banning it every game up until this game, but it is still left open. The Jinx is still there if they want to have a bit of a hyper carry and play for that scaling element as well and just kind of farm from a range with those rockets. So still some options left on the side of Unicorns of Love for that one. And then the Battle of the Mid Laners to me is the most interesting one, because both of these guys very hyped up. We know Chaz especially has a lot of assassin counter picks if they want to save mid for last pick.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're going to counter pick a soul lane here. But I don't know what Pub is going to pick. They actually banned Diana and Fiddlestick, so Pub is Champion Ocean, kind of coming up big here in Phase 2, but I don't know what's left. It is going to be Graves picked up here for Pentanet. Not locked in just yet, though, but running down the clock, and it does seem like the champion they will select. Indeed, it will be, so I think something we've only seen once so far this tournament. It did look pretty good. Disclosure, Canning was playing Graves, so maybe, you know, maybe it's something that is, you know, talent specific there for a player of Canyon's caliber, but it's probably going to mean something a little bit more traditional here in mid lane for Chaz, or Biopanther, I guess. They do need AP somewhere in these 5.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big question. I think Unicorns of Love going to keep it very standard. They already lock in the Orianna, and we've already highlighted their 2 AD carry choices. Again, we haven't seen Lodik play the Tristana yet, so maybe going to go towards the Jinx, or Unicorns of Love might just keep surprising us with, hey, we aren't as inflexible in draft as we've been showing in the first few matchups.
And you love to see it, you know, branching out a little bit more. I think, again, giving No Man's comfort, giving him champions that they know he can carry hard on. once he gets his farm and scales up. So Orianna for Nomanz and Tristana for the first time here for Logic, which is nice to see. But what is Pentanet's last pick here? Is it going to be something like a Silas? Is it going to be the Victor that Chaz was hovering for a bit of this champ select as well? We're expecting it to be a mage. Ari would be a Chaz special, and it is going to be Ari.
Yep, if people don't know, this is one of Chaz's go-to pocket picks, picked it up many times over in the LCO. It's a bit more dynamic, a bit more of a skill matchup, but still can have a nice time in this early laning phase. The thing I like about it as well is it brings CC, so you have the charm to try to set up for Pabu's damage, and then you have a lot of flanking and like side lane pressure that can come later on to really disrupt the backline of Unicorns of Love. And when you look at their composition, right, you see Tristana, Nidalee, and Orianna, so that's really what Unicorns of Love are playing for.
Yeah, the coaches will give final words to their players and then go meet at the top of the stage to shake hands or fist bump, and looking both very stylish, so probably appreciating some of the looks there. But this will be a fun one. I think we're definitely expecting PGG to play a bit more aggressive, which is something that I think they should be doing in this kind of matchup. I think that's what they showed yesterday. I do like that they have Praedyth kind of with the ability to carry a little bit later on the Kai'Sa, which is just such a powerful champion. But it does feel like, you know, Unicorns going to be leaning into Nomanz here, going to be wanting to play for a little bit later, although they do have tools to get things done early, which they need. So I'm glad to see they've changed their drafting tendencies around a little bit. Whereas Pentanet for comfort and a bit more for early game here. And I think especially, you know, how much can this mid jungle get done here for Pentanet is the big question. You know, Pabo and Graves, not a champion we've seen all that much of this tournament, but certainly if he gets ahead, can stay ahead. And I think Chaz is going to be kind of on support duty here, looking to get out of lane, roam and try and pick people off with his ulti and his charms.
Yeah, and you know, one thing we have to remember about Graves, right, is it's not like he necessarily took any big nerfs over the last, you know, however many patches since he's fallen out of the meta. Just a lot of other junglers have gotten buffed and it has affected him. As well as in this matchup, right, you have the armor coming in from the True Grit, not going to do you much use up against the Nidalee. So Unicorns of Love feeling really great in that aspect of this jungle matchup. But I really just want to keep my eye on that mid lane because Ari is not a champion we get to see all that much. Again, it is a bit of a Chaz specialty here at MSI. And I think especially later on into the game, once he hits level 6, once we get the Everfrost especially, there's going to be a lot of pick potential and threat coming out from both Chaz and Pabu.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a game. Pentanet using some of the early game they've drafted to set up for Praedyth, who is going to be the big carry here for Pentanet. It is going to be Logic and Nomanz on the other side, although Boss certainly could get ahead in the earlier stages of the game. And of course, these two junglers are going to be very important. Already, though, Nomanz is peeking into the mid lane. But no additional help here as Pabu, also wary that someone could be trying to get into his jungle, is going to be monitoring the entrance to his Raptors, as well as Decoy and Praedyth. Going to be roaming on in. Ooh, looking for the Q nice and early as Decoy is getting frisky. But looks like just some vision going to be traded here as Pabu going to skill up that E first here and dodge out of that spear. Did not want to take that damage.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, scaling up E versus Graves is completely fine. Having that extra auto after you do use that E. So Sclair is not going to be affected at all. I like that PGG are still a bit on the offensive, trying to control the spot lane Tri-Brush. If Logic and Santos do walk through, again, every analyst, every caster says it, Alistar level 1. Doesn't provide much, can find a bunch of damage as well, having the vision advantage if they did get that trade. But they're going to default back to the bottom lane.
Biopanther going to be walking into not a very fun experience. It is Urgot. Oh, actually pretty aware. Skills after Ian gets out of there. Doesn't take too much damage. But still not a happy time. Not a happy way to start that lane here. As a reminder, you can join in on the action using the hashtag Verizon5G or chat. Send us your tweets for the chance to be featured on the broadcast. We love to see what you're seeing out there in the Twitterverse.
Definitely will be awesome to hear from you guys out there. I think also awesome to hear what you guys think of these picks. Always love having the Ari. I want to hit on the Urgot a little bit as well because very strong champion level 1, especially the fact that he is, you know, pseudo-range champion against a melee champion in the Renekton. So we will have pressure. We do expect to see Anonisic play more towards that top side. As bot lane, they're just going to, you know, be a little bit frisky, have a little bit of trading back and forth, but not going to be too much when we have the Battle of the Meatballs at level 2.
Yeah, dude. Is level 2 to level 1, which is always a good time in the bottom lane. Decoy just completely zoning off two champions there as Ananastic is up towards that top side of the map. Speaking of level 2 to level 1, this looks like a real rough time for Biopanther here. He might get dove by this level 3 Nidalee and this level 3 Urgot. Now level 2, Ooh. He's going to get flipped over there. Beautifully played. It's a good flash from Biopanther. Is going to get him out to safety, but still the pressure is there. UL can look for the redive here. Ananastic already taking a tower shot and Biopanther's like, any help here? Chaz not going to TP up just yet, but Biopanther knows he's in trouble. Wave is massive. He's going to have to play pretty carefully. Urgot's going to go back in looking for the flip once more. Biopanther trying to find the outplay, but it's Ananasik that finds the kill as Boss. Oh no, he tanked up an extra shot. It's going to be a trade after all.
And that's the thing, right? Ananasik missing both spears in the situation. It's not the easiest time, right? Because you have to try and chain it with the flip coming out from Boss. We saw initially, it looked like he tried to predict where Biopanther would flash or where he would end up being. And then under turret, he just straight up missed. The synergy wasn't there. And overall, I think that is a win for Biopanther. He doesn't end up really losing out on any CS because he does have that teleport to get back to lane. And when the enemy team dedicates more resources into taking you down and you find a trade, that is always an advantage. And we see Pabu trading on the opposite side of the map, punishing Anasik in his jungle.
Yeah, going to take 2 camps here by the look of things. Already took the Raptors, going to take down these Krugs as well. I mean, like, Biopanther wasn't even... he was down on CS by quite a lot. That's why that dive happened. Boss built a big wave for Nidalee to go up there and look for that dive. So I like the thought there for UOL. Doesn't quite work out at the end of it all, but still first blood goal to Urgot, which I think is where they're putting quite a bit of their early game stock. And actually a spear straight in the mid lane. Nidalee back to mid, I guess, as the 2v1 is going to push Chaz in, although there's going to be some coverage there from Pabu as well. So we'll watch this one again.
And we're going to see this replay again. I feel like the big thing is Ananasik misses his spear. They know they can do this. I like that Biopanther's actually staying under turret and isn't losing out on any EXP. That's really good for him. Nice slice and dice to get away at first as well. They do end up getting the kill, but again, Boss goes down. The fact that it's so early on in the game, death timers are so low, we do see that Biopanther's able to TP back, doesn't fall behind in EXP, is actually... I'd say even in minions right now because we do see his wave is bigger than Boss's. It is pushing into Boss, so we see this is why UL is posturing around this top side. Should be an easy gank, but Pabu knows this.
Yeah, Pabu already here. Biopanther's actually up in XP briefly in this 1v1, so he's going to check the brush, he's going to see it, now Pabu's going to roam in, and that should dissolve any pressure here in the top side 2v2. So actually, Biopanther coming out very nicely at the extension of this all, and Pabu covering at the perfect time. Knew exactly what could happen there, but make sure his top laner is safe.
That's the thing. That's just great communication coming out from the side of PGG because, again, they're not able to fight it because they know that Pabu is in the wings. They did have a massive minion wave stacking up. That's why Unicorns of Love were trying to set up for that gank. And not able to execute it, still trying to dedicate more resources into this top side as we would expect, but it's giving PGG free reign on the bottom half of the map. Might even lead to No Man's being punished.
Yeah, definitely a bad time for Biopanther getting his recall cancelled by a well-placed Nidalee's Fear. Chaz level 6 here in mid lane, but No Man's has Flash and Cleanse, so going to be pretty tough for Chaz to do anything on his own, and even with, say, Pabu joining in, I don't think they can lock him down long enough to get that kill. Bottom lane, though, going swimmingly for the Pentanet side, which is, I think, what we expected here. Up, 2.5 waves or so already for Praedyth on this Kai'Sa, so definitely feeling pretty good about that 2v2. But Santa's perhaps interested in translating that lead somewhere else, as he has abandoned Tristana briefly to clear out a ward in mid.
Yeah, and we see that Logic has been falling behind. Is a bit expected with... again, just how their bot lane interacts, the fact that they aren't really putting any resources in. We've seen that Ananasik has been showing top side the whole time. So Praedyth and Decoy know, hey, we're not under any fear of a gank. So massive information win for the side of PGG in this game thus far. And for Unicorns, I like that they're trying to go towards mid lane.
Such a good shockwave there. No Man's going to cleanse up as well. Gets out of that charm as Chaz is forced to ulti out to safety, but will live happily. That does open up this Drake, though, as UOL are in full control of this river and are going to take the crab as well. So Pentanet don't think they fancy an engagement here. Probably going to have to give up this first dragon.
That's the thing, right? It's not always about finding that solo kill or even trying to find the summoner. It's about the pressure wins that you are able to get. That's what that ultimate did do. Does lead into the bottom side scuttle, and they are going to be able to get some vision down, but PGG are answering. Pabu and Biopanther are both hovering, but I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself, Pastry. Nice vision coming out from the side of UOL to prevent that one.
Yeah, it felt like that was a gank that could happen, but as you mentioned, that control ward pretty much cancelling any pressure that could happen here as Ananasik is going to go over the wall. Yep, into the red buff area we go. Pabu actually perhaps going to get cut off at the pass, starting this red buff. Cannot know that Nidalee is here. Now we'll find out, and now going to have to duel and not going to win this one. Pabu going to get himself 1v1.
Ooh.
No, the blast cone's going to save him.
Yeah, sadly not able to find that really nice pathing coming out from Ananasik. Almost gets it, is going to be able to get the red buff, but
in there. Praedyth not popping the ult. He actually doesn't want to go in. What a nice charm, though, for Chaz. Gets the electrocute proc and completely chunks No Man's, who doesn't have TP in this matchup. let alone the summoner spell that he has instead. Cleanse still not available, so hitting those charms is very beneficial for Chaz at this point. And that dragon is actually staying up as a result. So Pabu almost losing his life feels pretty bad. Ananasi keeping the jungle matchup pretty even, which is nice to see. And actually going to start the Roof Herald thanks to this topside pressure that he's gotten alongside Boss.
Yeah, Unicorns love playing this very by the book with how they did it right, using top lane prio. They had vision control, knowing where the side of PGG was because they just hovered mid around top side. PGG did get a bit of a small win in the sense that because No Man's was hovering, Chaz was able to push in the wave, which is why he was able to get that good trade. But Santos doing a nice job of answering in response and hovering towards that, opening up for Praedyth to get played. So overall, very even gold trade going on both sides of the map. So gold very even right now, 400 to 500 ahead for the side of PGG.
It does feel like, you know, when you look at the kind of the major discrepancies here, it's, you know, bot lane versus top lane for PGG and UOL respectively. Biopanther definitely keeping it a bit closer than Praedyth versus Lodix, so curious to see if that manifests into an even bigger lead as Pabu's actually going to steal away the enemy rebuff and start the dragon thanks to the kind of cascaded pressure that honestly Chaz started by pushing in that mid wave. Like, the fact that Santa's had to go mid so No Man's didn't get dove solo by the Ahri is kind of the whole reason this sequence of plays unfolded.
And I love that you say that, sequence of plays, right? Because a lot of this stems from the decisions that Unicorns of Love made to invade that top side, which opened up that trade for Chaz, which, like you're saying, set up for Santos to have to be mid. So kind of a bunch of dominoes falling, allowing for PG to get that bot side dragon. Also, doesn't hurt that their bot lane is, you know, more than 20 CS up at this point. And I think PGG is a very interesting team in the sense that some of these players have played together in past years. We saw that Decoy and Pabu both played together in 2019 on Gravitas, Chaz and Praedyth on Legacy in 2019 as well. So even if the squad as a whole hasn't been together all that long, there is a lot of built-in synergy, and I think that's a byproduct of the fact that, you know, the Oceanic, the LCO scene is so small. I feel like you are going to get a lot of time of playing with other players on different teams.
Yeah, absolutely, especially for, you know, the good players all want to play together because they're trying to win and go international, so it makes sense that, you know, the winners of the LCO are a bunch of players that do have quite a lot of experience in the Oceanic region, as Biopanther is deciding not to potentially cancel that recall. Don't think he knew that Boss was in there, but not going to be bothered as No Man's is getting surprisingly kind of bullied. Like, the CS is really not bad. It's actually even completely as No Man's picks up the rest of that wave under tower. But Chaz is like got the blue buff. Now No Man's is going to get his, so that should maybe equalize things a bit more. But Chaz is finding charms, right? No Man's does have the cleanse back up, but you know, a skill-based matchup here, Ahri versus Orianna. Chaz is finding quite a lot of power here with his pocket pick, as this invade looks real nice from Pentanet. Ananasic going to be the target, but he hops out over the wall, and actually the play dissipates quite rapidly.
Still nice. He's a pressure command from PGG, and once again, Chaz finding the damage. And as we hit on more of this mid lane matchup, oh, I'm going to have to stop, though. Boss maybe finding an engage? Nope. We were a little bit baited, Pastry, but
the last game really, you know, took us for a spin on how quickly engagements could fight. But it's been a bit more of a calmer affair here between these two. Biopanther maybe looking to answer back 1v1, but just hiding in the shrubbery to make sure he can get some minions safely. So as you were saying, Lyric, mid lane matchup, definitely a fun one. Not one we've seen all that recently.
Yeah, and it gets better for Ahri as time goes on because, again, Orianna's a champion who's very good at, like, stationary targets in front of her where she can...
Ooh, that's a bad miss there. Now Pabu also going to ulti over, but No Man's already with a great shockwave as Santos is going to collect the kill. And now this teleport, ill-advised from Biopanther, as Chaz is going to have to be escorted out safely. Will do so for now. Charm hits, but it's not enough there as the exhaust on a Praedyth's boss is going to put him in the blender. Gets suppressed and killed as Biopanther at least slays Santos, so the 2v3 goes well for Pentanet, but Decoy not going to be made the second kill there, as it's only his dual lane partner that gets killed in that engagement.
Yeah, and we had two different skirmishes going on each side of the river. Like you said, No Man's with a really nice shockwave initially catching out. Pabu leads to that pickoff. And then we see Boss and Biopanther both TPing down to different sides of the fight. We see that Boss is able to pick up a kill onto Praedyth on the bottom side, but they are able to return one on the opposite end for Santos. So overall, kills on both sides. It was a bit more favored towards Unicorns of Love. And now we're seeing some pressure relieved in the bottom side of the map, getting some plate gold onto their Tristana, and even more with this Rift Herald coming out.
Yeah, actually really nice here from UOL. Using that Herald that's hopefully going to kind of, you know, release the valve that has been down here for the bottom side for Pentanet, though, although it doesn't get the tower completely, so a little bit more room for Pentanet to still play that landing phase and try and continue to get ahead. Praedyth is 30 CS ahead of Lodic, which is huge, but did get himself killed, so there is some gold over to the Unicorns of Love bottom lane. after that last exchange. As the next Dragon's going to be up in a minute 15, but again, Noman's just nails Pabu here.
Yeah, great job from him, and Pabu just, you know, not having the best time finding that ultimate. I don't think it would have mattered anyway, right? The members of Unicorns of Love were so healthy. This is what I'm talking about, where the fight went in two different directions. You keep your eyes onto Boss and Logic on the opposite side. They are able to find their way on Praedith, but BioPanther as well, slicing and dicing in, finding that kill. Chaz also going over the wall, trying to find something else in return. Ultimately, a win for Unicorns of Love. Gold is now in their favor.
Oh, did it again. Noman's just can't miss. Ananastic over the wall gets it. Now Decoy is going to get the charm down as the follow-up is nice. And Decoy, well-deserved, gets credit for that kill.
Yeah, absolutely insane coming out from both sides. I love how Nomans is finding these shockwaves. Again, such a confident player. He does over 30% of his team's damage, so you know he's the guy to look at for the side of Unicorns of Love. But Decoy already being there off of his reset, hovering around, is able to find the response. And thus far, I feel like the name of the game is all about jungle. Ananasik is the one who is up. Pabu 0-2-0 on this Graves. We highlighted, hey, Graves not really in the meta anymore. Gonna feel especially good for the Nidalee in this matchup with the way we talked about True Grit working. And I feel like going forward, you're in a really good position as UOL, unless Chaz is able to find either some massive flanks or, you know, utilize pressure on a side lane to find a pick, which I feel like in this meta is much harder than grouping up as 5, having 2 tanks stand in front and throwing out, you know, point and click abilities or skill shots.
Yeah, Noman's definitely set up to carry here, but if Chaz can find the angles and the picks, I think both these mid laners have an opportunity to take over this mid game, which is nice because this is probably the closest matchup, the one we were most excited for between these two teams. Pentanet, though, wanting this Dragon very badly. Logic going to take the tower instead. So the Dragon does go to PGG, even though the spear comes in for Ananasik. It does not find the objective. So 2 Dragons for Pentanet, clearly leaning on that here. But they're down 1,000 gold now as Pabu is just invading straight in there. Not afraid at all.
And yeah, I like the way PGG played it. I think Unicorns of Love with a bit of a blunder. They posture like they want to go for the Drake, but Boss is topside. Boss doesn't have TP. It feels like you could have just split the map, gone top, potentially played for that Rift Herald, and, you know, accept the loss of the Dragon on the bottom half of the map. Seems like they were praying for a bit of a mistake coming out from PGG, but that didn't happen.
It did not, and as Mythics start to come out here in this game, it is Kraken Slayers here on the bottom side. Pretty normal stuff. Night Harvester for Ananasik, pretty cool to see. I am curious to see where the mid laners go, not just because I think it'll be super surprising, but I think, again, given that these are players that we are expecting to have pretty good times here in this mid game, given how things have gone, them getting that first really big item power spike will matter a lot for the future engagements, as trades do happen for Pentanet in the bottom side, actually taking the tower back there in bot. But also Pabu, like, he wants to be with Chaz here, roaming around and picking people off, but it's so much easier when he has Gale Force, so he's not quite there yet. So instead it is going to be Ananasik, who is ahead here on the Nidalee, despite the CS difference between the two junglers, is going to be taking this Rift Herald once again for Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, utilizing the pressure that Boss has in that top lane. I also like that we see that Santos is on the top half of the map, so we are trading turrets. Once again, a shockwave.
Doesn't miss, as Chaz is going to be forced to counter ulti there. Blue buff here for Chaz is nice. Passive going to have to work overtime for Ari if she wants to heal up, but I don't think it's super advised. 15 seconds till the TP is back up, so perhaps Chaz will just take a recall and either walk back or TP back, depending on the urgency of the matter. Isn't an objective really up right now. Dragon's up in over 3 minutes. Rift Herald just got taken by Unicorns of Love, so Decoy is going to go ahead and babysit the mid wave, as Everfrost is now finished for Chaz, and Gale Force is done here for Pentanet. So kind of the mid jungle, we've been watching a lot of this game. Much more opportunity now for them to open up their respective areas of the map. For Pentanet, it's going to be more about those picks and skirmishes. For UOL, definitely going to be more about the 5v5, but certainly, as we've seen already, Ananasik can get it done in the smaller engagements as well.
Yeah, and now it's going to be a dynamic of how these teams play out their lane setups, because I'd love to see Pabu hover with Chaz. Again, player on that pick potential. Not only the charm now, but you hit on he has the Everfrost. So this is where Chaz is at his strongest. You have the Gale Force on Pabu, like you said, to follow up on any pick he finds. And for Unicorns of Love, I feel like it's the complete opposite. You're saying, hey, we don't really care too much about side lanes. We're going to catch them close to our towers, and we're going to try to find windows to group up around the mid lane and look for that strong 5v5 engagement. So again, not only a different dynamic in the strong points of the map for these two teams, but very distinct compositions.
Good grab. Ulti here for Nort. Not going to go in for it, though. Kai'Sa does pop the W, but not maybe enough vision to go in, and it's an Alistar with, you know, ulti and flash up, so probably not an easy kill to get, and Pentanet will take discretion there on that potential pickoff as they are looking to pressure mid, but Santos finds one into the shockwave. What a play from Unicorns of Love. Nomads just does again as Decoy is going to find a decent hook, but there's no follow-up. Chaz not there. Predator doesn't want to ulti into 4 people under the tower, so it is just going to be one for Unicorns of Love.
And a bit disrespectful coming out from PGG. I think I can empathize with where their mind was at, right? Because they know that Logic isn't around the mid lane turret, so maybe thinking, hey, Unicorns of Love aren't going to look to engage 4v5. They know all 5 of our members are here, but
stay there! Predator is there and they combo it perfectly. It's a spear into the Urgot ulti and Predator just gets deleted.
Amazing vision control from Unicorns of Love, setting themselves up to find that play. They hit both skill shots beautifully and they pick off one of the key members of PGG. And this feels like a rough one when we've set up, hey, it's going to be about Predator carrying in the late game. Sure, still a massive CS advantage. Him and Logic, even in gold, or actually Predator's probably still a bit ahead. But the fact that they're finding these picks on such a key member is definitely going to feel good going forward. Dragon up in 1 minute, so it's going to come down to the setups for this one. So I would expect to see Boss and Ananasic going for their recall soon, start grouping up around that bot side. But we know since PGG have had control of that half of the map, they will be the ones with vision going forward.
Yeah, well, a nice little play there for UOL, so kind of cutting them down. But we're going to check it out once again in the new Axe Effect replay.
Yeah, really nice spear. Oh. And again, just like by the edge of the hitbox, they're able to guarantee that one. Again, the true MVP of that play in my mind was Vision, but still, they hit two skill shots very hard to hit, and yeah, leads to a pick. But as we highlighted, PGG are the ones with control of the bottom side jungle, but Unicorns of Love have a man advantage here first. BioPanther will need to burn a TP if Unicorns of Love find an engage.
Chaz has to be very careful, as UOL are actually going to pass through the midsection, so going to be A-OK for the potential flanking Ahri TP in for Bio, though, as he is going to make it happen.
And no, Unicorn's just going to get mid prio. Ooh, I like this play a lot, Pastry. They drop the Herald down mid, so they're trying to pull PGG away from the Dragon. Ultimately, even if they do lose the Dragon, they're going to get something on the map, but Chaz with a really good flank angle.
This could be tough here. The 5v5 is very powerful here. Nomad's looking for the shockwave, of course. The Nautilus ulti goes out. Santa's getting low, but Chaz, again, is just always waiting for them to run into him. I like the patience here for PGG, but UOL also know they only need one good ulti to hit there, and Ananasic can poke them out with the spears as well, so Chaz going to rejoin the team now. Dragon still on the table for either side, but no flanks just yet, as it's a long way around for Santos. I think Pentanet know, and they want to find him, and Chaz has indeed spotted him, but Decoy looking for the hook, doesn't find it. Charm going to miss as well. It's just a back and forth here, and the Dragon at this point has to reset, but Santos finds the big flank all the way over his boss. Going to be on a killing spree as he takes out one. Now BioPanther potentially in trouble, is going to go into the belly of Urgot, as there's the shutdown and a third there as Decoy falls to Logic.
And ultimately, I love the setup from that play for Unicorns of Love. You have 3 members down. You might even be able to turn this Dragon into a Baron. But we were talking about, hey, PGG are the teams with first setup on that Drake. They have vision control. But because Unicorns of Love have that Rift Herald, they're fine getting there on the wave that's crashing for the Drake timer. They drop that one. And then ultimately, they're the team that wins out in the Battle of Patience. It's like, hey, we're getting a mid lane turret. You're losing golden EXP in the mid lane. We see that Chaz has to back off.
Oh, Pabu just chunked out. Now can't even think about stealing the Baron. So Unicorns of Love not just winning the fight around the Dragon, not just getting the Dragon out of that play, but completely flipping a game that was close here and just taking over in gold and now in Barons as well.
And you know, we hit on how long the members of PGG have played together earlier, but we didn't talk about the fact that, you know, the Unicorns of Love lineup, for the most part, has been together since 2019 spring on Vega. We're gonna go straight into the replay. We see Santos find an amazing flank angle, and again, this is after long posturing from both sides, and Unicorns of Love are always going to feel favorable in this front-to-back team fight. We saw Chess trying to find the flank, wasn't able to, and ultimately, all the meat shields on the side of Unicorns of Love were able to do their jobs after Santos found that amazing flank.
Yeah, we'll have a look here from, oh, this will be a fun one. STV Feisenbar. Really hope my German's up to snuff here. Always a hard decision which team I cheer for when UOL versus PGG plays, because as an EU fan, I always cheer for Unicorns of Love at international events. Makes sense, but I want to support Oceania and MSI as well. You'll love to see it. It feels like the Pentanet lads maybe won over a few after their victory yesterday. Certainly have got the... They're a lot of fun, let's put it that way.
That's the thing is, I feel like both of these regions and both of these teams have a lot of personality, right? We've seen all the videos and tweets coming out from Pabu, very interesting character. And then Unicorns of Love with their branding, with, again, family organization. Their players are some of the best in the region. I think both these teams just bring a lot of charisma, and it's hard to cheer against either of them. Would be really awesome to see either or both of them take an upset off RNG. Just going to throw that out there.
Certainly something that both these teams will be looking forward to as the day drags on. But this game is just completely off the rails now for Pentanet. It is Unicorns of Love in the driver's seat and are looking to bash down as many towers as they can with the Red Bull Baron buff. Trouble in mid, trouble in bottom lane. Again, kind of something that happened a while ago, but Chaz did spot Alistar, right, in looking for that flank and just maybe didn't expect the other one. Pablo, though, looking for a flank of his own onto Nomads, but doesn't quite land it. And now it's in the front side for Sanders. Ananasik assassinates poor Pabu. And that's going to be another 5v4. Nomads, he hit another shockwave. What an absolute surprise. As Logic is going to claim credit for that kill. And now the rest of them are in there. Sanders finds a double pole. That's BioPanther in the mix of it all, but he's 1v5 literally, and nothing is going to save him from there. And Predit's lead just means nothing. He can't get anywhere close to these fights.
And Unicorns of Love all inning where they're strong on these 5v5 teamfight setups, and it's going to lead to that mental edge with the fact that they're going to get this win over PGG.
And that's the S-lead, bro. Unicorns of Love not worried about the bottom lane at all. It is Ananasik and No Man's at it again, as Boss is also looking pretty good at 6-1 and 2. Predit's going to be firing back. PGG going to try and save the Nexus. Maybe can make it happen, but I think it's going to be all she wrote for this one. It's Unicorns of Love taking it now 2-1 up against PGG in this group.
And it's great to see the bounce back. Let's remember that this game started with that early dive on topside where it ended up being a 1-for-1. It pretty much allowed Renekton having a free time in this lane matchup. But ultimately, it felt like the top side of the map were the stars for the sides of Unicorns of Love. We saw that Boss, Ananasik, and Noman's all having great performances. And then that one flank from Santos setting up that team fight, which led to you wiping PGG. It led to a Dragon and the Baron as well, was the game-changing point. And as we said, this gives you momentum going later on into the day.
Yeah, I think definitely a good win there for Unicorns of Love. We'll be happy to get revenge from yesterday and kind of take the mental edge on what is going to be a very long day for both these teams. It is nice to see how close this game was. Pretty important there. So I think these teams are very well